Hello, 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 people of the internet and also the Freedom Astrologer here, once again with my good friend Donny Lim, an astrologer, gifted healer. And I think we're at the final stages of our series called Psychic Intuitive series. And I think it's the 6th video. And I will let Donny jump in and kind of guide us into the topic we have for you today.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. So we've come to the end of this Psychic Intuitive series. And it's just more of like a recap and kind of give you guys an overview of like what are the possible ways after you've seen our previous video that you probably have identified through your chart and the significators that what clair senses that you possess or which one is more dominant according to your chart and how to develop them accordingly. Before we even go there, I just want to paint like a general picture because when we talk about psychic intuitive skills or influences, what it is that it's an innate ability to process sensory data, both tangible and intangible stimuli. And that's on an extremely deep, emotional, physical, or spiritual level. So this is what I just said is a very broad definition. And I think it's best to imagine like psychic intuitive skills on a spectrum because it does vary greatly in terms of intensity and application. I would say that most frequently we are all born with a certain level of that, of all the clair senses during childhood. And these can be either passed down through close individuals, be it directly or indirectly, or it can be cultivated in response to our environmental conditions. I think I mentioned something about clairsentience, which is clear feeling. It also can be cultivated through like growing up in a very potentially traumatic upbringing because you're always in a state of perhaps survival, and hence you always have to tune into that clear feeling or gut instincts, for example. And then that gets developed along the way as you like live out your life.
I just want to say here, just a second, going to chime in because I think this one is really, really important to understand because a lot of people, let's say, gather these gifts during this kind of like traumatic places in their childhood. Then the basics are literally you're in the state of constant, you don't know where the next kind of argument comes from, next kind of thing, next energy towards you that's kind of negative coming towards you. So you start to develop these things within yourselves to start to kind of understand the energy, subconsciously, to kind of not be in those constant painful, things projected onto you. So I think maybe, if you want to put it on a list, maybe it's one of the most common ways to develop.
Yeah, I mean, because particularly as children growing up, we've noticed more, we see more, we hear more, and we feel more. And these are the basic survival instincts that enable us as children to move through the world as our coping mechanisms of sorts. But having said that, as we mature, perhaps we are being told to stop being so sensitive.
Big one.
That goes unreal. Although I beg to differ, and that pain is always physical. And through this conditioning, we may actually start to believe that emotions and intuition are anti-ethical to science and reason. And we go into the other hemisphere of the brain. And through that, we actually suppress our gifts. perhaps we sneer at clairvoyance or people who still like keep that gift within them intact into adulthood. Or we may just simply accept the physical realm as the only extent of reality that we live in. So we just kind of numb that part out within ourselves. So if you guys actually take yourselves back into the previous episodes that me and Ian have covered in the previous 5 episodes, like we always mention about the 4th, 8th, and the 12th house. On one hand, it can really give us the gift of sensitivity, extrasensory perception, 4th, 8th, 12th house, to really feel into the not only the visible but also the invisible realms as well. But the 4th, 8th, 12th, not to forget, those can be potentially quite traumatic places in our lives as well, or spheres of life. And that may, on one hand, bestow us with gifts, but on the other hand, it may also what we choose to lock away from.
Yeah. I have a really short story here from a personal, this is my experience, was, I always had this very kind of vivid dream life. For example, just one thing I had when I was growing up, and things happened during my childhood, adolescence. I really kind of suppressed it totally, to the point of like I couldn't even remember dreams at all. And then once my kind of spiritual awakening started, so I started writing down dreams, and gradually that gift started opening. Then I was able to, do what is it called now? The thing when you take control, lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming, and I started, developing in these areas, and then other stuff started happening in these areas. So it's really possible when somebody's not there to kind of support you as you are younger and these experiences are happening to you, or maybe you're generating those experiences, to kind of, and somebody maybe says, what are you talking about, this isn't real, da da da, then it's extremely easy to kind of suppress those, and you have to start cultivate. If you want to develop them again, you have to start kind of bringing them up again, through different kind of methodologies. And writing down dreams is one of the easiest ones you can do, and kind of like everybody can do that.
So it's almost like you're grabbing coffee with your psychic intuitive part of yourself. It's almost like you're treating like reconnecting with your psychic intuitive abilities like an old childhood friend of yours, because it's almost like a familiar quality to it, right? It feels familiar. It's always been part of your spirit, and you're reconnecting with those skills, and indirectly also connecting with your higher self, or your the core of your spirit. And I think what you said is very telling in terms of like, it's really necessary if you want to develop or take this further. It's good to develop like a daily practice.
Certainly.
And I've heard of a friend of mine who's in the mediumship, or she teaches mediumship to people. To I think one of the exercises she mentioned was it involves assigning like colors to your emotions. And maybe you can start by considering like a very straightforward experience. Maybe it can be a frustrating conversation with your boss, or perhaps even like a flirty text exchange with your crush. And you would actually choose colors to associate with those feelings. And then over time, the color that you associate certain experiences with colors, it will somehow fuse or become synonymous with that emotion, and your intuition will be able to somehow communicate through this non-verbal language. I think the exercise is to really establish within yourself that non-verbal language that's customized to your needs. And once the color has been fused with the energy, your intuition will be able to signal on events outside your immediate realities. So for example, like you want to attach like a color to like something romantically linked. And perhaps like you just start off with like, oh, anything of that I'll just associate with the color pink. And so, for example, if you see something pink that keeps recurring in your external reality, you know that there are romantic feelings somehow floating around you.
Aha. Oh, that's interesting.
You know, just something. It's almost like you start getting dreamy with yourself, because it actually taps through that space of the subconscious. So it almost like you link, in this case, an emotion with color. And this will somehow like rewire your subconscious to function in a more effective manner.
I think it's a very good. I think it's a very good exercise actually, because you kind of get, or also getting proof of that. Kind of like your gift, or like you, like the universe or the energies communicating with you, and you communicating with the larger things and the bigger things and the spirits. Maybe to add to it, just for those of you who have more like scientific minds almost, you can also, what I mentioned with the writing down of dreams, but even if you do like these types of exercises, like emotional, connecting the colors, you can also, whenever you have like an, let's say, what I can call like a bigger event or a bigger manifestation of your gift of the psychic realm, you can write it just down. Just because when you write it down, you kind of, again, you're like proving, okay, this happened, so this is possible for me to happen in this. And when you do that more and more, the things start happening more often as well.
Because I think, like, to piggyback what you just mentioned about dreams, because dreams are a great pathway to the subconscious realm. And it really symbolizes, to a very large extent, like the alternate reality to our conscious waking world as well. And if I think about it, dreams actually represent like a portal. And the more acquainted that we are with this subconscious realm, the more easily we are able to access the full spectrum of our psychic intuitive gifts. And by kind of journaling, like keeping a pen and paper or a notebook close to your bedside, and just kind of jotting down and become comfortable with that, like journaling your experiences with what you experience in your dreams, you're actually more acquainted with your, I would call it astral body, because it's through the astral realm during our sleep that is boundless. We are not tight. We can just go from 1 second in one place to another second in another place in our dreams. And I think as we increasingly become comfortable with the subconscious mind, all of us will begin to have this, I would say, incredible fluidity between worlds as well. Do you have anything more to add to that?
I want to add a small piece, because I think I'm always going on about this, but I think it's an important part, because like Tony mentioned the fluidity, and I think it's totally where we're headed and what we're doing as a species and what we're doing as individuals as well. But like the thing I want to maybe convey to you guys is also, whenever you start having more of these experiences, some of these experiences can be, sometimes you start seeing something, maybe there's an angel, maybe there's an orb, maybe there's an energy, maybe that, there's something scary there. It's also important to understand, like Donny mentioned, the subconscious. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on in your subconscious, but you can also notice what starts happening within your body when these experiences are happening. Is there fear? Is there happiness? Is there like joy? Like these are very, very, very important indicators. First and foremost, like what is actually going on with you, because you might still have some fears around, maybe seeing ghosts, maybe seeing things, these might be your personal fears coming from your subconscious. but also, it's a weird one, because when these energies are with you, in my experience, like there's a certain kind of how to put this, like sensation, let's say, within you that kind of conveys to you about these entities as well. Are they, good-willed? Are they positive? Are they maybe in a little bit negative? You can start to kind of feel the energy is basically what I want to convey to you. So pay attention what is happening, on an emotional level, when you're going through these experiences as well.
Yeah, which kind of brings me to my next point of to develop this, you need to be first and foremost, besides acknowledgement that you have it. I think that's the main like hurdle people have to overcome. And then the next logical step is to build your awareness. Maybe you can do this simple exercise as in stand in the middle of a room, and then you start doing like an environmental scan around the room, and you will note like the signals, the sounds, the scents. You start becoming more and more. It's like reconnecting with that sensitivity that you have in terms of sensory perceptions as a kid, and kind of conditioning yourself to be more in touch with those things again. And maybe it's that side look out of the window and you see something that you never quite know that it was even there before, and connect with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you almost like you will tend to like zoom in on the more like micro things around you. And through that, you actually become more attuned with the energies that's surrounding you. And with that, you actually build awareness from that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. It's also like a act of, or a exercise of presence as well. You're kind of like bringing yourself back to yourself in the moment. That's where the, like, let's say, that's where the gifts and intuitions are most powerful. You are there, so you're able to catch them and use them.
Yeah. So why not we move into the 4 like clair senses one by one, in the order that we did the video.
Sure.
So the first one is actually clairvoyance, and it's also known as clear seeing. It's very much tied to the third eye. One thing I'd like to add is that clairvoyance is probably the one that comes up least frequent for people. I mean, as we go down like with the clair senses like clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and claircognizance, I find that the clairvoyance is probably the least people identify with, but as you go down the list, it becomes more and more common. I was actually asking myself, why is that so? But when I think about it, like clairvoyance is actually clear seeing. And to probably see something that's physically can be so real in front of your eyes can also bring about the most trauma. So people have a tendency to like numb that clair senses out more. Whereas like if you go down the list, like clairaudience, which is clear hearing, you can't see, right? You just hear.
Yeah.
And then clairsentience, which is to feel something very clearly. And then claircognizance is to clearly know something is going on. It is, I would say comparatively, it's not as potentially traumatic as you go down the list. But also, when I think about it, in most of our daily lives, clairvoyance would be the one also that's the least commonly used. Unless, of course, you're doing like psychic mediumship work in your daily in your daily environment, you don't usually use clairvoyance that much. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. To me, this is my personal opinion. I think Claire, God, clairvoyance is one of the most, intense ones.
Yeah.
Because it's so in your face. It's so, especially when you're kind of first starting out, it can be really like, whoa, what the hell is this? And I just want to mention a couple of things you can do here. Is like the things we already mentioned before, and especially I think with clairvoyance, because it can bring entities, energies, angels, whatever you want to, whatever
And you literally
might
like see
appear.
them in some form, shape or form, right?
Exactly, and that can bring a lot of intensity. But when you start interacting with these, let's say, entities, energies, ask simple questions of like, hey, like literally, like, why are you here? Like, what are you showing me? What do you want to show me? What do you want? What is the what do you want to teach me? Because if they're your guides, it's usually it's because there's teaching you. I want to teach you. I want to bring something new to you. And this is where I want to do a little bit of a plug to my kind of like teachers and mentors, because it's also pretty good to have some form of elders to kind of guide you, especially if you're new to this. I've learned this technique from Joe Greenland and Cindy Edson, and they have a website called foxdreamer.com, and they're very, very gifted in those areas. So if you're looking for some elders besides us, of course, but these people are also very, very good people and very experienced in these realms. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like clairvoyance is probably the easiest to block out, also because if we are naturally gifted as kids, as all of us are on different varying levels, if we actually see something that potentially causes us trauma, be it that you have seen something unexpectedly, or that something that you see is unpleasant, so to speak, and you just naturally just kind of block, or just keep leaking energy out from your third eye chakra. Third eye chakra is linked to clairvoyance, and it just kind of, after a while, it just kind of numbs itself out as well. Also, I find that a side topic from this is that clairvoyance is probably the hardest psychic gift to hang on to as well, because if there's any general blocks to truth, it can also block your clairvoyance. For example, if you actually live your life in a state of denial or falsehood, your clairvoyance ability will be weakened. And if you want to have like a very strong intuition, in particular pertaining to clairvoyance, you need to get into the habit of facing up to truths in your life. It gets harder as we age. And if you kid yourself or just keep like bluffing yourself about something on a regular basis, it weakens your trust in your perceptions. Actually, in general, to any psychic intuitive abilities, and this will affect, in particular, your clairvoyant gifts and talents. That's how I put it as well.
Yeah, very nicely put.
Yeah. I've actually written here like there are further tips if you want to really go that way, as in really stimulating your third eye and perhaps opening it. I particularly find like crystals like clear quartz, lapis lazuli, and actually amethyst can be pretty good as well. You can meditate with those crystals over your third eye chakra, or you can just have you can just open up your options Like, for example, if you go to a crystal shop with the intention of finding the right crystal to help you open up your third eye, somehow the crystal will find you. And you may be drawn to that particular crystal in the shop, which can help you. I also wrote down something like meditation helps a lot.
Sure, of course.
Yeah.
I have one small exercise as well, just to kind of this is what I personally do as well. Before bed, I like to do a prayer to my supporters, but also what I like to do is close my eyes and start focusing literally where my third eye is. Now, at first, nothing might not happen for you, but as this goes on and you kind of train, you will start to see images there, pertaining to particular situations, sometimes totally wild, sometimes very kind of logical, but it is just a practice you can do on your own in your bed before going to bed.
So it's almost like connecting and stimulating your mind's eye, which is the third eye chakra.
Yeah.
And by the way, the mind's eye is very much the moon and Mercury energy together around here. And perhaps using affirmations may actually help as well, because this kind of reinforces that. You can probably say something like, I am profoundly clairvoyant. It is safe for me to see. It will take a while before it actually kicks in and work. But then it's almost like just build your just incorporate it as part of your daily practice, because those will really help. And last but not least, probably one of the harder ones, but it's not impossible, is to release and heal whatever fears and trauma that you have around seeing spirits as a child.
Oh, that's a huge. Now that you bring it up, I really want to share a quick story, because I had this experience. I think this is important now. Glad. Maybe I talked about it. I can't remember. But anyway, really quickly, when I was 10 years old, I had this really big experience. I was alone at home, sick, a little bit, sick, not anything like super serious, not delirious, anything, just sick. And I was alone there, and really like weird things started happening. Paper started flying, no windows were open, the cupboards started shaking, and the last thing was I saw like a spirit entity, moving from the hallway to my room, or my room and my parents' room, towards that. I was really freaked out. I was like super freaked out about this, and I went to talk to my, first and foremost, my parents. Now this is weird, because I talked to other people about it as well. Luckily, in my case, my father has had these experiences as well, so he was kind of supportive. So he was, acknowledging that these things happen, and these are, possible to happen. But most of the world that I shared this story with was like, yeah, Ian, you're pretty crazy. You're imagining things. You're da. So there, this mixture of kind of feedback I got from as a 10-year-old was I'm glad that I got some support, so I didn't go I was too crazy, but most of it was like, oh, I should shut it down. So mostly I did shut it down. But I kind of get my like toe in the world. So when I was, let's say at the appropriate age, or my spiritual awakening started low. So going back to that experience actually helped me bring, some of those gifts back. Yeah, that's what I want.
I mean, as I said earlier, right, it's like grabbing coffee with your inner child, or what you experience as an inner child. And I think with that, it really pushes you to trust not only in yourself, but in the universe. And with all those that you mentioned before, like the meditations, the visualizations, or the exercises that we just mentioned, all these are necessary to help you release the fear or trauma surrounding clairvoyant abilities. And it also helps to reopen your third eye if it has been numbed out or closed before, due to denial and etc., or conditioning. those meditations, visualizations, and exercises can also help to strengthen your third eye and also focus your intuitive vision as well. So I've also written here as one of the ways that you can release fear or trauma from your clairvoyant abilities. Ask for your highest good, and only that in an opening prayer as you begin to work or practice with your clairvoyant abilities. I've also put here, like, meditate with a mantra that you can tell yourself that perhaps you can say something like, I am willing to release all fear of seeing my future. Or I release my past fear and know that I only see good. And the last point I want to mention is that give yourself time to do all this and be gentle with yourself, because there's almost this hype, or sensationalization that, like, oh my God, clairvoyant is probably the best. Nothing is the best. All of us have, depending on your chart, varying degrees of all, 4 actually. Just be okay with the inner knowing that all things happen in divine timing, but just kind of incorporate certain regular routines, like those that we mentioned, and things will just naturally unfold for you, because this is the path to evolution is really like how much your higher self is ready to receive. Because otherwise you will send yourself into shock if you just kind of suddenly just open up, this part of your chakra, it gets really blast wide open and you're just not ready to handle the ramifications of it.
I think I totally agree, because literally from like the past 2 months, this is another personal story. I've been feeling almost like in a constant state of deja vu, of even talking with a person. I'm feeling like, okay, so this has been like this, this very strong feeling of constant deja vu. This has happened. I've lived this. I've done this. And when you're constantly in that state, it's like so almost a feeling came over me like what's the point? Like if I've done all this, like I've went into a bit of like a deeper hole. But it's whenever I start to experience these kind of deja vus constantly coming, it's for me, it's a kind of like a sign that there's another channel opening, another kind of step opening. But when you don't have the mentors you can write to, and I was able to write to my mentors, and when you haven't experienced these things, it can be really scary. It's like, oh, constant deja vu, like what is happening? It's easy to go almost mad in this, because it's, like Donny mentioned, like it's blasted open and you see a lot and you feel a lot, and it's kind of overwhelming. So patience and vigilance, and
and be gentle with yourself.
Be gentle with yourself, and take time.
I mean, what's the rush? I mean, I gotta ask myself that question.
Yeah.
Like,
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. And why not we move on to clairaudience, which is clear hearing. One of the things I actually thought about in terms of a useful exercise to help you tune better into your clairaudient channel is to really close to bedtime, when you're lying on the bed at night, listen carefully to all the sounds that's around you. This can be the sounds of like cars passing. There may be sounds of birds or animals. There may be sounds of a plane as well, or people talking, or the sound of music at a distance. We usually tune out these noises so that we can concentrate on sleep. But when you tune out noise, at the same time, you also dull out your perception and become less sensitive to your inner voice as well. So for those people who know that from their chart, they got the clairaudient as their predominant extrasensory perception, gifts and talents, and you want to reconnect with that, this can be one of the simple exercises that you can easily incorporate that into your routine. Don't have to do it every night, because otherwise you won't be able to drift off to sleep. You know? Yeah. I just want to also add that when you start or begin to listen consciously to the noise that you normally tune out, you will somehow hear what I call is something like an orchestra of sounds. And when I mention about this exercise, right, is to really notice each and every single one of these sounds and make up your own unique orchestra. You may also want to take it apart, and you can perhaps even count how many sounds you can hear and make a note of what they are. Is to really build that enhanced awareness within you. And with that, you also attune yourself to the more subtle energies that's surrounding you that used to be barely noticeable. And last but not least, I think the goal here is to really heighten your auditory perception, your clear hearing. You may want to do this to start off with, like every night, if you are committed, or every other night for the first week before you go to sleep, and you'll be amazed at how much you were not hearing before. And with this exercise, you will notice that you will begin to activate your clairaudient ability as well through this little exercise.
It's what I mentioned really quickly. Again, it's kind of like repetitive, but I think it's really important with this clairaudience as well. Like, because it can seem like maybe you're crazy when you're hearing something. So when you hear something, again, take your phone, take your notebook, write that thing down that you heard, and then if something happens in the real world, the real life, somebody comes, gives you that sound, or make some kind of connection. Make a note at first. You don't have to do this forever, but like at first, when you're kind of proving to yourself that you have this, basically, but you're kind of then it can make, again, connect the dots and make your mind believe.
I was also thinking that because there's a tendency to block out your clairaudience, maybe there's true fear of hearing something that you perceive as negative or frightening. So if a person is afraid of hearing spirit for fear of being spooked, a useful tool here is to set the intent to only hear your spirit guides and higher self, knowing that they have your best intentions at heart, and they will never knowingly scare you, if that makes sense. To kind of overcome that fear of hearing something, because it's just a matter of perception of how you perceive the sounds that comes to you. And if you perceive things that you hear as straight away, like, oh my God, this is scary, this is negative, this is frightening, you just close it up. Also, I have actually written down that you may want to also listen to, I call what they are right here, binaural beats, BINAURAL, yeah. And how do they actually work? These beats actually in the alpha frequencies, which is 8 to 13 hertz, they are thought to encourage relaxation, promote positivity, and decrease anxiety. Those beats in the lower beta frequencies, like 14 to 30 hertz, they have been linked to increased concentration and alertness, problem solving, and improved memory. And all this are part and parcel of the important qualities that you will need to build up your clairaudient channels. And the next point that I have is meditate. Meditate helps, with everything that's psychic intuitive. And last but not least, affirmations. Affirmations to positively reinforce yourself as that it is safe, to actually listen to your inner voice. Because that's what clairaudience is that what you're actually hearing is a reflection of the inner voice within you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You may also want to listen to the sounds in the room, like I mentioned earlier. Like close your eyes and breathe deeply and just focus on the sounds in the room right now where you are. And you may want to extend your hearing slowly but surely, like what you hear beyond your immediate surroundings, and how far can you stretch your ears, metaphorically, of course. and where are the sounds coming from? This is to really build awareness. And I do find that because from a child, I've been actively listening to music, and that actually helps as well for me to retain that clairaudient ability within myself. And yeah, I think that's about all I have really. Besides meditation and all that, to go into the inner stillness. It's like 12th house energy that helps to still yourself when you're alone. And Saturn is in planetary joy in the 12th house, so it really can bring you that deep joy. Because one thing that, people always mention that Saturn is like bad or is the greater malefic and all that, but Saturn can also bring you the greatest heartfelt joy that you never felt before.
And the most material, tangible results, I would say. It's almost impossible not to get anything. Like, you have to have Saturn. You have to use it, in my mind.
Yeah. And I think the next one will be clairsentience or clear feeling.
Mm-hmm. I just want to mention, guys, some of these might overlap the things, you can use some of these meditations and feelings with different kinds. You don't have to only, use them with clairsentience or clairaudience or clair.
Right.
You can use them in general, as well.
But, I think it goes back to the point that when we cover each and every episode with like each clair senses, right? Mm-hmm. Each of the clair senses, the significators just overlap.
Yeah.
And so like you can see the methods of developing it can also overlap in some ways.
And guys, if you haven't seen the previous ones and you don't know what significators we're talking about, just go back, on our channels. The videos are right there. Just search claircognizance, use the abilities,
etc. Now we are right at the third one, which is clairsentience or clear feeling. This one is pretty interesting because it's when we talk about clear feeling, you are also reading someone's energetic imprint. So a quick exercise that you may want to use to develop your clairsentience further would be like, perhaps ask a friend to show you like a picture of somebody they know well, but also make sure that you don't know the person in the picture. And you look into that person's eyes and tune into their energy. And kind of like, what are the things that you pick up on how they feel at the moment of the photo being taken, for example. And if honestly, this is your first time that you have consciously used your clairsentience, you may just only pick up like a basic negative or positive vibe from the picture. And you may also ask yourself what this individual is like as a person, and ask yourself whether you trust that person. And is there anything else behind the person's eyes that they are revealing? And now check with your friend who actually show you this photo of this person that you don't know, and you kind of can, that friend can tell you that, oh, how accurate are you in terms of what you picked up as well. Also, there's a thing called psychometry exercise, which is about holding and getting hold of an object that someone has worn regularly, like a watch, for example, or some other thing. And because all objects actually absorb energy from their owners, and if you're clairsentient, you can tune into this energy residue from this item. Maybe hold the object in your hand for like a minute or two. And if the watch, for example, if that's what's in your hand has a lot of strong positive or negative energy, you will definitely pick it up. And you may use this as a type of practice session for yourself as well. Have you actually done this, Ian, the psychometry exercise?
I have done similar. Maybe I haven't went into so, in depth. I haven't asked all the questions, but I have done, similar things. What I do personally very often is let's say there's a conversation going on between the two people, and I'm in that social setting. I sometimes just do my best to feel what the actual person is actually feeling and experiencing, not the words that they're saying, because a lot of things, even when you have this gift very strongly, I think one of the things that you can do is, whenever a person says something, maybe they say quite important things to you, maybe it's a negotiation, maybe it's something big, or a conversation about relationship, feel what is happening after what they're saying in your body, because a lot of, if you, usually what I've experienced, if you feel kind of closed or kind of like almost like tight, there's something that they're not revealing, they're not saying something entirety or the entirety of the truth. When it's more open and you feel like open, it seems like they're mostly, what I've experienced is they're expressing the truth of the situation and what is actually really truly going on.
Can I say that it's because that you can feel the flow of energy from their words, of what they project to you? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
you can do this, and you can see, at first you don't have to, start calling them out on things. You can just say, you can see, because people don't like that at all. Believe me, I've tried. But you can just, see what's, you get that sensation, and you finish that conversation, and go on with your life, and then later on see what happens, and then you can get the confirmation in your mind again. The sensation was correct. I can start trusting it more.
Yeah. It kind of brings me to my next point, that for people who are like having clairsentience as their predominant clairsenses gift set, take care of your energetic heart.
Do you have like a thing you do or an exercise you do with it, or you use it there, or it's like just being present with it?
I think it's more of like meditating to still, because I think that to still yourself, to go into the inner stillness, because there's a tendency for clairsentient, strong people to what I call like, there's more tendency for them to hold to residual energy around their heart, energetic heart center. And so they it's almost like they have to spend extra time to learn to let go. I mean, if we just go back to the episode where we cover clairsentience, think like the main planet that we talk about attributing to clairsentience is Pluto. And Pluto, if we think about the archetype, is probably one of the planets that's that we at least initially find it hard to let go of certain stuff until something big comes and hit us, and then we have no choice but to let that go. So learning to let go becomes very important for clairsentient, strong people. I think the understanding here is that not everything you feel is yours, nor it is your responsibility to feel everything around you. And if you feel kind of out of sorts, imbalanced, unusually depressed, and you don't know why, or you feel overwhelmed, or you may be full of other people's emotions, just at some point you need to have that clear understanding that your job is to recognize it when it happens, and then you just clear yourself out from their business.
I want to say one thing. I think I totally agree. I want to say one thing that I think we haven't mentioned. It just came to me. A lot of, maybe you have some things to release, or you want to rest somehow. Or want to maybe even push the energy a little bit. Let's say the spiritual energy. Let's put it that way. Some of you who are, let's say, more know astrology more, have learned astrology more, you could always turn to your 12th house. Whatever is there in the 12th house by sign, by planet, you can use that energy to kind of push those openings from your subconscious, and then they all very often lead to spiritual openings as well. It's just a very, very good example of this. A person with Aquarius 12th house, Pisces ascendant, they actually went to a group, Aquarius, and they did breathing exercises. Breathing. What I can't remember the technique exactly, but it was group breathing exercise techniques, and a lot of things opened up in that case, and they had actually problems with becoming pregnant. So after that release, they felt a really huge opening in that group setting. And
breath work, is it?
Breath work, basically, yeah. I think there are different kinds of breath work, but basically breath work within a group, and then they become big because of that opening that helped them really to release some of that stuff, and they become pregnant. I think 2 months later, or month and a half later, approximately. In this case.
I also want to add that for clairsentience, right, it's even more important to get grounded because of that. Like, it's almost like someone who's very clairsentient, the auric field gets more porous, or there's more osmosis or diffusive ability, and you just pick up everything. And so energetic residue can really stick to you. So it's even more important to release what's not yours. And there are certain affirmations about letting go. What other people feel is not really a responsibility to take on. But on a more practical level, you may want to also regularly smudge yourself with sage.
That's really good.
And you may also want to consider salt baths as well to cleanse the energy of the residual stuff that sticks to you, during the day, so that you will it makes you feel lighter. And there needs to be this practice that's built into your routine to help you stay open without being overwhelmed.
And if you don't have a lot of time, even a simple shower, literally
Right.
just shower, just cleanses a little bit already, so you can ground yourself a little bit, and come back to your own body and see what you are experiencing, what you are feeling, not the residue of others.
Yeah, because the thing is that where someone is so clairsentient, right? It is so easy to be energetically bombarded by picking up energy all around you. And it's even more important for you to set healthy boundaries for yourself. That what you allow into your experience. You may also want to contemplate setting your intention each day to experience your highest and best good, and only that. That's when the affirmations can come in terms of your practice to make sure you are still connected with that gift, but minimizing the potential ramifications of being too open with your energetic field, so to speak.
It's simple. I just want to quickly say a simple one to use also is let all the energy that doesn't belong to me, in the best safe way, be returned to whoever it belongs to, and the energy that belongs to me, in the best safe, most comfortable way, be returned to me. Very simple way, very simple thing to do. But if you do it a little bit, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 30 seconds, helps a lot.
And just make that your mantra.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. And last but not least, the fourth one is claircognizance. Last of the classes we covered. And this one is a bit special. I must say. No, because this one is the one that I resonate with the most. I think it's because of my very dominant 9th house energy.
I think you're very good with it. Very clear.
So I think one of the foremost things that I myself have done is to practice automatic writing.
Mm-hmm.
And it really connects to your inner knowing. Just sit there, clear your mind, and start writing without holding yourself back or judging, what's coming forth to you. I find that really fun and productive when I have the time to sit down and do that, of course, and see where your intuition, that's rolling around in your brain, and just let that out. I think the best part is that I will keep those writings, and then in time I will know the answers that accompany what I wrote. That's straight from intuition, or it can be coming from my higher self, or you can come from spirit guides.
I really like that, because you're like literally you have proof there with this exercise. That's really good.
I mean, if people go back to watch our claircognizant episode, it's really talk about that 9th house, right? Mm-hmm. And then the polarity axis is the 3rd house. It's really like writing stuff out. So it's something that is like communicable. There's some be it written, spoken form that you can go back and trace it.
Yeah, you can record it as well on your phone or something.
Yeah, if you don't want to have automatic writing, you can just buy one of those voice recorders. And just really just have voice notes recorded up there, and just go back and just revisit those. And it can really bring a lot of potential confirmations. And with that, you will strengthen your claircognizance or inner knowing abilities. The other one I wrote is act on your gut instincts.
Yeah.
And the more that you trust your gut, the easier it will be for you to be confident in your claircognizance ability.
Sometimes hard to do.
Not the most straightforward thing to do, but it can be one that if you start doing it, it may really you go through leaps and bounds with that.
That's exactly like when you start to trust it, and you, let's say, do it even once and see at least a little bit of results. I think it catapults, gives you the courage to do it next time and next time and next time. So just maybe the first time stepping over that edge can be a little bit tricky, especially if it's something really strange or weird.
The next thing I wrote is to increase your claircognizant abilities with music.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that you can even guess the next song in the playlist, for example, when you're running and you have your AirPods with you, and you can just kind of move with the music you know, it can also help to strengthen that part of your clairsenses. I think the main thing is that you can start by trying like, can you guess you just put your playlist in shuffle, random shuffle, and then you just kind of, you guess what's the next song is in your playlist. I think that's a pretty fun one to do.
Yeah, that's a really fun one to do.
Yeah, like you have like 20, maybe 20, 50 songs, and then it's like a song is about to end and then a new one begin, and you're running with, you know, with your headphones and all that. So like, just guess like, oh, the next song will be blah, blah, blah. And you're right. You know what I mean? Like, it can really be something that, that you can do. Also, you may want to play high vibe music, like any music that makes you happy. And you can do it while you're cleaning the house, for example, and this can really boost your energetic vibe. You may be doing something really mundane, like, you know, putting your dishes into the dishwasher, and then you have some music playing like right behind you, and you can sing along with that. And after a while, it can really help you to levitate your energies indirectly. The others I wrote is about connecting with your spirit guides. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Practice some form of visualization as well. It can really help. But because visualization, I would attribute it to also like clairvoyance, like we discussed earlier. But it can also be a very powerful claircognizance exercise as well. Meditate, like we mentioned before. The next one, eat high vibrational foods. Yes, there is such a thing.
Think as clean as possible as well.
Think about green, rich veggies, nice smoothies, organic dark chocolate, which is very grounding. That's more for clairsentience people. Adding high vibrational foods to your diet can really help your mind and body feel good and feel lighter as a result over a period of time. And keeping your high vibes on that level, it really means you're connected to your higher self easier. And it also connects you to your spirit guides and onto positive energy better as well.
I have 2 points I think that could be matching here. So these are my last ones, so maybe I can bring them as well. So especially we're talking about, you know, Donny brought in the spirit guides and the helpers, let's say. Whenever you start feeling those connections and you see, you know, them bringing you things and bringing you answers and they're communicating to you, remember kind of like gratitude. Be grateful for that connection. Be grateful for that communication. The more you do it, the more you are grateful. I'm not saying you just need to be, you know, in prayer and kind of on your knees. No, I'm not saying that. But just, you know, throw in the thanks here and there. You know, guys, thanks for bringing this information to me and so on and so forth. Once you do that more and more, you know, that connection kind of builds because you're putting in energy there and they're bringing you stuff. And, you know, that's like a good way to build that bridge or gap that bridge between those realms. And sometimes those, especially with, you know, those weird gifts we're talking about, the information given to you can be quite strange, you know, almost kind of like code or like you have to decipher the messages. What you can do to kind of ease yourself a little bit or make it easier is to ask the guides or the energy or the universe to bring it in the clearest way possible for you personally. This is really important. Like almost like prove this to me. You can ask the universe to prove this to you in the way you would believe it. In that way, the answers and the things brought to you are more, let's say, align with you. So it will make sense to you personally. So the information will be presented, and it will be easier for you to decipher the information given to you personally. That's what I wanted to say.
The next thing I wrote is that you may also use crystals in your claircognizant activities or exercises. And those that I really found that's helpful for beginners will be like labradorite, topaz, and citrine. That's really great for increasing your inner knowing. And how you can employ those things can be like crystal jewelry, can be one of the ways that you may want to use it. Or you may also want to like sleep with one of these crystals under your bed, and you may benefit from the energetic properties as you sleep. Or you can, while doing meditation or connecting with your spirit guides, like what Ian mentioned, you can also place the crystals I mentioned on your crown chakra. But besides the crown chakra, which is the main chakra that's responsible for claircognizance, you may also want to place it on your third eye and solar plexus as well, which is around the tummy area, the upper tummy area, because we download a lot through claircognizance via our crown chakra, but there needs to be some grounding influence within the chakra system to make sure that we retain those messages. And those will be the third eye and the solar plexus. So if you know someone that's got a very strong 9th house Sagittarius energy or Sag rising, whatever, you will notice that if they are really tapping into their claircognizance skills, usually their midsection gets bigger and bigger.
Interesting.
You will notice that their waists are usually thicker. That's what I realized as well. Yeah. And also, since inner knowing or claircognizance requires you to be in a state of relaxation and openness, I think that this point also, like it applies across all clair senses in terms of development. You may also want to diffuse essential oils as well, like drops of lavender, rosemary, or bergamot essential oil into your diffuser during your practice. And you may feel that it actually enhances that experience as well. One particular special thing I want to talk about developing your claircognizance is that you may want to use like Zener cards, Zener, and they are a fun way to increase psychic ability, particularly claircognizance. And it's actually a set of cards that have like a circle, a cross, wave pattern, a square, and then star. It's a set of like 25 cards that you can use it. It's actually developed by this perceptual psychologist Carl Zener in the early 1930s. And this is really like a fun way to tap into your claircognizance as well. You can probably purchase those online. Ask your gut when making decisions. Maybe you want to elaborate on that?
I think it's a good way. I haven't used that specific way, but the gut feeling it's so at first hard to take action on.
Right.
I think it's really kind of, you need to almost like force yourself at first. And even later, maybe you haven't used it for a while, it's still like, what is this? And then you still have to go through it. So that first step will be important. Use will there, kind of like will, or maybe even like, I think in this way, the series will help, because why I even kind of built up the courage to use some of that in my own life was that because, you know, some other people, you know, mentors and teachers kind of like shared their experiences as well. Like, hey, I did this, it was scary, but then, you know, good things came. So hopefully this kind of like us saying this to you, to kind of learning to trust, and you can trust it in, maybe start trusting it in you know, maybe smaller decisions if possible at first, to kind of prove yourself that it works, and then, you know, if the bigger stuff comes, it won't be that scary. So hopefully this kind of encouragement helps a little bit there.
I actually got a fun way to kind of also develop your claircognizance, not clear inner knowing ability. When you're stuck with like a question in your mind and you need to make a decision, but you have time to lead up to your decision-making moment, write down that dilemma that you have onto a piece of paper and slip it under your pillow. So literally is sleep over it overnight. And then when you kind of wake up, you just take that little piece of paper from your pillow, and then when you look at it, maybe something will hit you. There can be like a fun way to do it as well. And another way that I have seen some friends do it is to ask yourself questions with flashcards. That can also be like a fun way, like if you want to practice with friends, like this back and throw. Each one write like certain questions for the other person. And then you just kind of, okay, this, and you just kind of like, you know, practice back and forth with each other. And those can be really helpful as well to develop your claircognizance ability. If that's your predominant sensory gifts and talents, that is. Do you have anything more to add?
I think I'm all kind of out and done, actually. How do you?
Yeah, because honestly, there's like a whole like list of potential ways that you can develop your gifts and talents. But I think you may want to watch back our previous 5 videos to kind of identify for yourself according to like the significators we mentioned, and kind of identify probably out of the 4, maybe the top 2 clairsenses that you're exhibiting more or feel connected to. And then you may refer to this video in the relevant section to kind of have a taste of what you can do about it to develop those.
And, you know, I think we mentioned it a couple of times, but like we gave a lot of practices and things here. You don't need to go too crazy. You don't have to do them all, you know. Just pick some, be patient, be vigilant with these, start seeing results, you know, and then do some other things, develop those, you know, go, you know, in a grounded way, not too.
Or you don't have to go ham and hard at it.
Yeah, this is not like a, you know, a project
competition.
Competition or a project with a deadline you need to finish.
Right.
Be open and curious and vigilant and patient.
Because ultimately, I think when we started doing this series is to really help people to like tap onto what's innately already inside them, but they have probably disconnected with time. Because as we know, like, you know, the outer world is not really as reliable as we think, you know, it should be. So we've only got our inner selves to kind of depend on in this period to navigate our decisions and all that.
Yeah, guys, it's a weird time we're living in, I would say so, and you know, uncertain time in a lot of ways. And if you have some of these gifts and things, you know, kind of supporting you extra, I would say, you know, it adds an extra layer of feeling safe in the world. And, you know, when you're connected with their guides and they're you're seeing that they're bringing you things and helpful companions and stuff like that, it's kind of makes you feel more safe. You will be able to kind of navigate these murkier waters we're in right now as a society and as a species. Yeah, I think that's
about it from us.
that's about it.
It's the end of the
For
series.
this series. Yeah, I think most likely we'll do some more. We don't exactly know what they're going to be about, but
all in divine timing, right? Yeah.
we're going to communicate with our guides and bring you the next topic, hopefully
Right.
soonish.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope it
Yeah.
made sense to you. You can get, you know, the info, the reading. If you want to contact us, info will be in the description below. Like and subscribe to our channels, and more stuff soon. See you guys.
Right. Bye.
Bye.